What is up, Packers fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Draft, brought to you by Badger State Brewing in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Just minutes from beautiful Lambeau Field. I am your host and the publisher of Packer Report, Ross Uglem, and today we are maybe not 100% sure how happy they're going to be, but maybe here to make Badger fans happy, and that is by yet another one of our requested uh requested players. Well, I had a list of guys that I wanted to talk about, and then I offered the opportunity to add 13 more guys to that list to you, the fans. And one of those requests was Tanor Bortolini, the offensive lineman from Wisconsin, a guy that I am excited to talk about. I'm maybe not as high on him as most, which is totally fine. And the number one thing besides him, being a Wisconsin Badger, is that he's a complete and total freak athlete. He is, and I'm not looking at you because I'm trying to pull up the RAS card here. Yeah, 9.97. What an alien, man. He's not big. He's 6'4", which is 71st percentile, but he's only 303, which is like 35th percentile. He's not a big guy. And we'll talk about some of that stuff in the cons, but my God in heaven, 32.5-inch vertical at that size, 9 foot plus broad, running the 40 and 494, that 3-cone at 716. I mean, that's cornerback stuff. Like it's I think 999. It's one of the greatest 3-cones of all time. And that's what A, jumps off, what you see, but B, like, I mean, my God, man, like just, but guys that big aren't supposed to move that well. That's what you say, right? That's the cliche. Guys that big aren't supposed to move that well. And I got to take a quick look too at some of the PFF stuff, because I think I remember I've only watched games from the last 2 years on Bortolini, but I do remember people talking about, and he was at center. All the games that I watched, what I'm trying to say is all of the games that I have watched of Bortolini, he has been playing center. But my understanding is that he has done other stuff. So yeah, okay. In 2023, he played all center. In 2024, he played some center and some guard. So he played a bunch of games at right guard that I didn't watch. I didn't have a chance to see those. And then in 2021, he played some right tackle. So he's got, as I read, I hadn't watched because, like I said, I've only seen him play center. But I had read that he had some crazy positional flexibility, and we'll talk about this in the cons, but that's nuts, being 6'4" with 31.5-inch arms. The 31.5-inch arms are going to go in the con. That is really short. We talked about Brian Bulaga's arms being really short, and I think they were 33 and an eighth. And and we're not talking about Bortolini as anything but a center. So short arms are fine. They're okay. Whatever. But he is, like, the fact that he survived at tackle in the Big Ten is impressive. That is something to be commended when you have frankly, an undersized center's body with arms that short, only being 6'4" and only being 303. That's impressive. That's impressive to me. He's going to be a zone blocking center. And that you can just, anytime you have a 99th percentile athlete on the offensive line, a zone scheme team should take him. That's what you should do with a guy that moves that fast. Don't have him in pin and pull. That makes no sense. Don't have him in man scheme, gap scheme. Have him in zone, which makes him a potential Packer, to be honest. Proficient zone blocker. He does work with good pad level, and I wonder how much of that is how short he is. And I don't mean that to be a jerk, but like, his leverage is good. His leverage is good, and again, some of that is when you are an interior offensive lineman, things are sometimes easier when you are shorter. That's why 6'4" guys play guard and 6'7" guys play tackle. And there are obviously exceptions. I think there was that one center from LSU that was like 6'7", who's been with the Seahawks and stuff. Can't remember the kid's name, but like there are short tackles and there are tall centers. They exist, but the norm would be, if you're 6'3", like for example, a Corey Linsley, you're 6'4", like a Tanor Bortolini, you play center or you play guard. But and Bortolini, I guess, has played all over. He is quick, as you might expect in pass pro. His feet are acceptable, certainly in pass pro. He will look for work in pass protection when he is uncovered, which I appreciate. He'll knock a guy. With that said, and now moving into the cons, I mean, he does not have weight in the seat of his pants. And I mean, you saw there was one, I think it was Shrine Bowl or Senior Bowl, whichever one he got invited to, and some nose guard just ruined him. And I've seen like people talk about, and rightfully, Jordan Davis, the Eagles, like forklifting the Eagles backup center, and then Jordan Davis even saying, whatever. At any rate, it's not that big of a damning thing. The fact that he got forklifted, run over, quote unquote embarrassed, whatever, at the Senior Bowl practice. But everybody's seen the clip, or if you haven't, you can find it pretty easily. I think Ben Fennell quote tweeted it and said, "You can't 3-cone your way out of this one," which I guess is valid. But I mean, that's an issue. And there aren't, I mean, other than like Johnny Newton, there aren't a ton of, talk about Minnesota. I guess, LVN did some rushing from the interior. Logan Lee, I guess, plays for Iowa, but like Northwestern, that Big Ten West, Nebraska, that Big Ten West does not have a ton of super dynamic interior pass rushers. And I still felt like, oh man, this kid can get bull rushed. And that's at 304, but there are 304-pound guys that don't get bull rushed like he does. And that's what I'll say. He didn't bench at the combine. I don't know why. I think Tazim Wajed, Christian Watson's dad, shared something like today that was, if a guy's avoiding a test and he's not hurt, it's probably not because he's going to do super well. And I don't honestly give that much of a crap about the bench press. I don't think it's that telling of a test. I don't think it's that important. I really don't. But I get it from a standpoint of the play strength is needed. And that's, I view him as more of a zone block wall you off type guy, even in the run block game, than I do any type of guy to impose his will. And that's why, honestly, I view him as a project. And not a guy that, like the Green Bay Packers, would be able to just roll out there at center. And it's reflected in my grade of him. I think he's 2 years away, and I think that 2 years needs to be spent in an NFL strength and conditioning program. It's all just power and strength in my and size. That's all basically my whole list of cons here is size, strength, power, getting bull rushed, not imposing his will in the run game, a lack of length, struggling in one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl, which was real. I mean, really, it was. So that kind of stuff, I think he has the feet. He obviously has the athleticism. I mean, he's legitimately one of the most athletic interior offensive linemen in the history of the NFL Combine. He is worth a look, 1,000%. But he needs to get stronger. He needs to get bigger. I think at 6'4" plus some change, he could easily carry 315 pounds without losing a step. And that would be a 12-pound gain. And not, I mean, a lot of offensive linemen would be like, yeah, I can get you 12 pounds. I can get you 12 pounds tomorrow, baby. But it needs to be functional strength, and it needs to be at the behest of an NFL strength and conditioning program. But interior rushers, and I think there's a kid from Penn State that the guys in the group chat kind of got after me about too. Interior pass protectors, centers. They cannot be a direct line to the quarterback. Garrett Bradbury disease, man. And I'm not saying Tanor Bortolini, although now that I think about it, there are some Tanor Bortolini, Garrett Bradbury comps. And I think Bradbury's gonna probably get a second contract. He's probably gonna be fine, not with the pick that the Vikings used on him, fine, but he's probably gonna be fine. I just, you can't be a direct line to the quarterback. Garrett Bradbury spent plenty of time getting absolutely forklifted into Kirk Cousins by Kenny Clark. And the Packers are not going to be willing to do that with Jordan Love. They're just not. You can't. And so when when I feel like an interior lineman is a pass pro liability, and right now I do. I feel like Bortolini is a pass pro liability with the upside of someone who cannot be a pass pro liability. But right now, I feel like Bortolini is a pass pro liability, and that means and you talk about, well, the Packers need depth. Right now, Bortolini is a developmental player, not a depth player. I don't want him in the game right now. I might want him in the game second half of 2025. If something happened to Josh Myers and they threw Tanor Bortolini in there, I would have some concerns about how, we're going to bring AJ Dillon in there to sniff. What are we doing? Because now Aaron Donald isn't around anymore, but there are interior pass rushers in the NFC North. There are interior pass rushers in the NFC, and they can't just do what Zadarius Smith used to be and pick out Bortolini and goes, that's meat. That's my guy. I'm going after your you know what? You're my guy. You're my target. You're my, you know what? Can't happen. And that's where I'm at. Packers fit. He's a high fit. Does everything obviously that they want athletically. Doesn't probably pass protect the way that they want, but I mean, he's got guard experience. He's got center experience. In 2 years, he could be exactly what they need on the interior, if not, add strength to the point where he can be a starting center in the NFL. Mid to late round Big Ten center is something that they've done before. I think Corey Linsley did not have some of the strength issues that Corey Linsley had, like length issues, not strength issues like Bortolini has. But I think he's a high fit. I think he makes sense for what they need. Ultimately, though, I think the combine probably blew him up in a way that somebody's going to take him before the Packers do. And that's ultimately what I think of Bortolini. I think somebody's going to see what he did at the NFL combine, talk themselves into it before Green Bay would probably, plus he's never played tackle. Now, if they view him as a center-only prospect, that's fine. But he doesn't have the tackle history that a Dominic Punai does, or a Cooper Beebe, or a Jalen Sundell, or Bo Limmer. Not Bo Limmer, but guys that have played tackle. I was just looking at my tier fits over here. But everything else he hits, man. And so I think there's a chance they look at him. I think he'll go before Green Bay would be interested. He'll almost certainly go before where I will be interested. And that's where I will get into overall. Looking overall here, I have Bortolini as player 187. He is my 8th ranked center in this class. He has a solid 6th round grade for me, which means I think he's going to make a team. But I have more questions than answers, and this might make Badger fans mad, as I don't think my Braylon Allen video was particularly kind either. I think he has a chance to make it, but I think like most, and I will say, like most offensive line prospects, I think he's 3 years away. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're on the podcast side, buy the Green Bay Draft Guide powered by Pack Report. Use promo code DAILY for 10% off. That very guide. Check us out at Pack Report. Check me out. I'm over on Twitter, or X as it is now currently known. I'm at Ross Uglem. Pack Report. We're at Pack Report 66. Do everything you're supposed to do here on the Daily Draft, on the Pack a Day podcast. It's the second time in like 3 days, man. Like, subscribe, click the bell, get the notifications so that you can get every single ounce of Packers content that you require on a daily basis. Have a great rest of your day, folks. Go Pack, go.